Hi, Matrix. Welcome. We're just going to wait for a few more people to join, but those of you who are already here, there's just 2 questions up on the screen. I'll explain who I am when we have more people, but if you could just answer in the chat box first, if you did financial maths last year, just say yes or no. And then the second one is if you've done financial maths already this year. That would be great. Thank you for those who have answered so far. Luyanda, when you say not yet, did you do it last year? Oh, great. 2 yeses. That's great. Only last year. Okay, no problem. Okay, I'm just going to give others a couple more minutes to start joining. If you have just joined, please just answer these 2 questions in the chat. So just say 1 yes or no, and then 2 yes or no, whether you did financial maths last year and if you've already done it in class this year. Okay. If you're able to, it would be great if you could have your camera on so I can see your lovely faces when you ask questions or if you're talking. But if you don't feel comfortable, that's also 100% fine. Okay, those of you who have just joined, if you don't mind just answering these 2 questions in the chat. So it's just, did you do finance last year and have you done finance already this year? Just type yes or no, just so I can get an idea. Okay, I'm going to get going. I'm sure people are just going to sort of slowly stream in, but we need to get started. So for everyone, I am Miss Godlinson. My kids at school call me Miss G, but if you prefer saying ma'am, or if you just want to say, hello, I have an answer, all of those are fine. I don't mind, okay? I never will feel like you're interrupting me. If you want to ask a question, or if there's something you don't understand, just say, I need help, or please slow down, or can you explain that again? All of that is fine, and I will happily answer any question you have. So we're going to be doing finance, and finance is one of my favorite sections because it's one of the only sections that's actually real life. So you'll learn about loans and what happens if you have delayed payments for something. So it's something that's actually quite useful. So just some important stuff. We're going to be doing financial maths over 6 lessons. So this first lesson today is just revision of grade 11 financial maths. Then we're going to go into something which is brand new, which is matric work, and it's called annuities. So we have a future value and a present value. So those of you who've already done it, you would know what those annuities are. And after lesson 3, we're going to have a quiz. So at this point over here, we're going to have a quiz, and it's going to be on those annuities and grade 11 finance. And then we're going to learn about the value of N and the balance of a loan and final payments. And then you'll have the final quiz at the end of all 6 lessons. Okay, so those quizzes are just there to help you to make sure you know what's going on and just as some guidance as we work forward. Okay, does anyone have any questions or anything that you're nervous about so far? Okay. Okay. When I write, I'm going to turn my camera off just because I'm going to have to move my screen and you'll just be staring at my ceiling. But that doesn't mean I'm not here. ask any questions. Please interrupt me. Anytime you need to know anything, ask. Okay. All right. Very importantly, do we all have our calculators? Can you make sure you have your calculator with you? Okay. This is our favorite friend in finance. It's your best friend. You must love it and give it hugs. Okay. And if we don't love our calculator, it's not going to love us in our exam. So we have to show it real love every day. All right. Make sure you have your calculator. Make sure you have pen and paper, and let's get going. Okay. So what we've got over here is we have our 4 formulas from last year that we learned in grade 11. So we've got 4 different ones. 2 of them are where our money is going to get bigger, and 2 of them are where our money is going to get smaller, which is depreciation. Who is feeling brave and can tell me what that first formula would be a formula for? So this very first one here, which is the A equals P1 plus IN. I'm sure one of you must be feeling brave.
I believe it's for simple interest.
Luyanda, that is 100% the right answer. Well done. And you are the very first person to speak up. So you've just got all of my favorite brownie points right now. Okay, this is our simple interest formula. Okay, it's something that we learned all the way back in grade 9 and we just added on last year. And basically it just means that we have interest on the original amount. So it's not like the interest will be the same. Doesn't matter how many years. I'm still adding that same amount on each year. Okay, now we have our second equation over here, which is A equals P1 plus I to the power of N. Which one is that going to be? We know it's not going to be simple. What about
compound interest?
Yes, well done. Was that in Bali?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, nice. Well done. Okay, compound interest. And compound interest is when we have interest on interest. So it means that the longer that's in the account, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay. The only thing we have to know off by heart about compound interest is that if they ask us a question on inflation, we have to use compound interest. Okay. So both of those are formulas we use if our money is going to be growing.
Ms. G, I think you've just muted yourself. Could you unmute yourself and
Sorry, guys, that was a bit of a mistake. I hope it hasn't been for very long. Thank you, Coco. Okay, so depreciation on a straight line basis just means that my money is going to go down the same amount every single year. It's going to gradually go down as I move down. And then my last type of depreciation over here is going to be called depreciation on a reducing balance. And basically, my money would decrease like that. Okay, so it wouldn't be linear. Let's just go through what all of these letters mean before we jump into anything else, just so that I know that everyone's happy with what A is, what P is, all of those things. So do I have anyone who feels confident to tell me what that A actually stands for in all of these different formulas?
The accumulated amount.
Beautiful. It's the accumulated amount. And Bali, you are I'm just loving your answers. It's glorious. Okay. Then we have P, which is our principal amount. And principal is basically just saying what we're starting with. Our I is our interest. And when we work with interest, we can either work with it as a percentage, or we can work with it as a decimal, or we can work with it as a fraction. So for example, if I had 9%, I could write it like that on my calculator. or I could write 0,09, or I could write 9/100. All of those would be fine. And then our last one is N, which is basically our number of payments that we're making, or the number of times interest is added. So often we think of N as time, but it is actually the number of times interest is added. Okay. So this is just kind of a summary of everything that we would have done with formulas up to grade 11. And we add 2 new formulas in matric, but at the moment, these are the only 4 we have to know. Now, the important thing to take from this is that these 4 formulas will be on your formula sheet. So they are not things you have to learn off by heart. But because they're on your formula sheet, if you write them down incorrectly, the marker stops marking. So it's super, super important that when you're doing these in your exam, you make sure you write this down exactly as you see it. Okay, great. Let's move along. Okay, so we have a first question here, and we're going to try something a little bit multiple choicey. I've put a question up on the board. I would like you to use your chat button to give me an answer here on which formula I would use for this question. So have a look at the question, read through it, and when you think you have an answer, just put in the chat A, B, C, or D as to which formula I should use. Okay, let's see as we've got some answers coming in. Okay. So we are choosing a resounding B. I like it. Awesome. And that's 100% right. And we knew it was B because it told us it was being compounded annually. So it was definitely B. Well done. Do I have any volunteers who think that they could talk me through how to write this question out from the beginning to the end? How about Luyanda? Because you answered a question for me earlier. How would you feel about trying to answer this full question?
I'm not 100% sure, but I don't mind trying.
I love that. Okay. How about this though? How about before we write it out, we talk through certain things together. So we know which formula we're using.
Yes.
Why don't we work through what different things are? So if 100,000 Rand is invested, what would that be? A, P, I, or N?
The P, principal amount.
Good. Excellent. Okay, great. The total pension in the fund after 10 years. So what is this telling us?
That it is the accumulated amount.
This will be our accumulated amount, absolutely. And what would the 10 years be?
N.
Good. So what we're looking for is I. Now, once you've got this, I like to call this my grocery list. So I do this for almost every question. Once you've got that and you know which formula you're using, it's actually quite nice and easy. So can you tell me what you think my next step would look like?
You would have to substitute those values into the formula.
Beautiful. So 250,000 is equal to 100,000. 1 plus I, which we don't know, to the power of 10. Okay. Now, when these are being marked, this is the step which is the most important, where you're substituting everything into the formula. All the steps in the middle, where you're manipulating the equation, none of that is marked. So you can do it either in 17 steps, if you feel confident with that, or you can do it in 1 step. It doesn't matter, whatever you prefer. So I would kind of work through this. Luyanda, I'm letting you off the hook here because I'm just going to carry on talking. I would work through this by kind of moving things around. So the first thing I do is move this 100,000 over. So 250,000 divided by 100,000. Okay, so now I've gotten rid of that guy, essentially. I'm just erasing as we go. Now I need to deal with this 10. So if I root that, then I would be left with that. And now if I minus a 1, then I'm just left with I. So it's kind of working our way backwards to isolate the variable that we care about. And then we're going to chuck this whole thing just like that into our calculator. And what I'd like you guys to do is I want you to make sure you have your calculators with you, and I'd like you to put that in and make sure you get the same amount as I do, because that practice is really important. If you're struggling with anything on your calculator, just shout and I'll talk you through what you would need to push. Okay. Just going to give you a little bit longer to try and work that out, and then I will put the answer on the board for you. Okay, so I get 0,09595. Nice long decimal. And remember, when it's interest, we always want it to be in percentages. So we would say that's 9,60%. I hope that everyone else got that answer as well. Okay, we are going to move. We're actually going to jump over example 2 because it's similar to example 1. And I'd rather get into some depreciation. So let's have a look at example 3. Okay, Carl buys a computer at a cost of 25,000 Rand. Calculate its book value after 3 years. So now what this means, when it says something like calculate its book value, it's basically saying, what is it worth 3 years later? So if you buy things like computers or cars, as soon as you start using them, their value starts declining. So they'll be worth less and less and less over time. And so this question is just asking, what would that book be worth after 3 years? Okay, if I wanted 10% per annum on a straight line basis with depreciation, which formula should I use? So should I use A or should I use B? Just put your answer in the chat for me. Great. Beautiful. Okay, we're definitely going to use A because we're using our straight line basis. Excellent. Okay, so what we would be doing here is this is what my computer is costing. So is that now going to be my A or my P? Does anyone feel like they can tell me? When we're working with depreciation, that initial amount, so what something is worth in the beginning, that's going to be our P amount because that's our principal. And in depreciation, just always remember that your P is always going to be bigger than your A because it's going to lose value over time. Okay, so my principal amount, if it's 25,000 Rand, we're wanting to know what its book value is going to be after 3 years. So N is going to be 3, and our interest is 10%. So by writing our grocery list and knowing which formula we want to use, it's nice and easy because we can just put it straight in. So A is going to be equal to 25,000 Rand, 1 minus 10% times 3. Okay, can you all please practice and please put that into your calculator? Make sure you get the same amount as me. I get a total of 17,500 Rand. Okay, and I'm hoping you all did too. Okay, we're going to jump up to B if we have time a little bit later, but I kind of want us to spend a little bit of time on timelines. So let's have a look at example 4. We're going to work through this really slowly and carefully and methodically. And then the next one, I'm going to let you guys try by yourselves. And I'll help you as we go. Dark color. Okay, so let's go through this step by step. 14,000 Rand is loaned from the bank. Okay, so let's just draw a little timeline quickly. At time 0, 14,000 Rand was loaned from the bank. Okay, interest was 16% per annum compounded monthly. So we learned how to do that in grade 11. We would write that as 16% compounded monthly. That's what that interest is. But that's only the case for the first 6 years. Okay, so up till time period 6, our interest rate is going to be 16% compounded monthly. Then our interest rate changed to 13% compounded quarterly. So now we're going to divide it by 4 because quarterly means there are 4 payments within the year. What would be the balance of the loan after 10 years? So basically we need to know what's going to happen to this loan at the end of 10 years if I took out that amount of money. Okay, when my interest changes over time, we can do it all as one sum. So we're saying what is happening to that 14,000 Rand. So I'm working with compound interest. My principal amount that I'm working with is the 14,000 Rand. I then have 1 plus my interest rate, which is 16% compounded monthly. And this whole set, this has been happening now for 6 years. So I have 6 years where I'm making 12 payments per year. And so that gives me 72 times where I've added interest for that time period. So my end value here is going to be 72. That only takes me up to this point, which is my 6th year. Now I have to take into account the next 4 years. So my interest rate now is going to be 1 plus 13%, but now I'm only compounding quarterly, so 4 payments, and this time period is 4 years, and I'm making 4 payments per year, so my end value is going to be 16. So that's going to be to the power of 16. And that's our whole answer. So I want you to get a moment to try and put this into your calculator. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to make sure that I've given you enough time. Input this into your calculator, and let's see if we all get the same answer. Okay. And my total here was 60,608 Rand and 94 cents. Isn't that crazy? So over 10 years, that's how much that loan is now worth. So much money over such a short period of time. Okay. Does anyone need me to stay on this page for any longer? Has everyone got it down? All right. Okay, let's have a look at this question. This question's quite a big one. So let's just go through it nice and slowly. All right. 5,700 Rand is deposited into a savings account, and 2 years later, another 1,900 Rand is added to that savings account. A final deposit of 4,100 Rand is made 5 years after the initial deposit. Already, I feel like I've said a lot of information to you, but remember, financial maths questions, just read them over and over again until things start sitting. The interest rate for the first 3 years is 13% compounded quarterly, and then it is decreased to 11.2% compounded monthly. Calculate how much money will be in the account at the end of the 8 years. So all I want you to do at this point is try and read over this question, and I'd like you all to draw yourself a timeline. So I want you to draw a timeline of what this would look like, where you're adding money, where you're taking out money. Make sure you have your time periods. So everyone try and draw this timeline. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do that. And then I'm going to draw it so that we can talk through it together. If you can draw a timeline, you can do all timeline questions. The tough part of these questions is understanding where everything goes. Okay, I'm going to ask very sort of small questions. Kanya, can I ask you my first question? Do you mind unmuting yourself for me? Hi, Kanya.
Hi.
Okay, don't panic. I can hear the fear in your voice. I promise I'm not going to make you do anything you don't want to do. All right, let's just have a look at this question. My first question to you is, what is my full time period? So what if I had to draw my timeline? I know that this is starting at time 0. What is my timeline ending at?
8 years.
Beautiful. That's great. That was excellent. You see, I'm not mean when I pick on you. Thanks, Kanya. Okay, let's do another question. Sola, am I saying your name correctly? Is it Sola or Sola? Hello? Have I lost you? Oh, it's in the chat. Okay, I see. There we go. Okay. Sola, can you just tell me if I'm saying your name correctly? Is it Sola? You can answer in the chat, I don't mind. Kinda. Okay. All right. When you're able to have your sound working, I'm happy for you to correct me, okay? And I'm very sorry for saying it incorrectly. My question to you is, how would I write this first part of my interest? So when it says that my interest is 13% compounded quarterly, how would I write that? You can also put it in the chat if you'd like to. If you want to make a fraction, you can just do it as a dash. So like that would be like a fraction, like 1/2. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so when I'm saying I'm compounding it quarterly, I'm going to have it over 4. Excellent. So let's have a look at what that looks like. Firstly, I have this 5,700 Rand, which I'm depositing into the account. So right at the beginning, I have 5,700 Rand that I'm putting into my account. Then 2 years later, okay, so time period 2 years later, I'm adding another 1,900 Rand. And then I make a final deposit of 4,100 Rand 5 years after the initial deposit. So now I'm on time 5, I'm adding another 4,100 Rand. Okay. Can I get an idea in the comments if so far this is what your timeline looks like? And please don't be embarrassed if you didn't get it. We only learn by making mistakes. That's how our brain grows, literally. So if you did not get this so far, we haven't put the interest rate on. All I want to know is a yes, this is what mine looks like so far, or a no, this is not what mine looks like so far. Great. No, in big capital letters. Okay, got it. Great. Okay. Now we need to take into account our interest. Let's have a look at those interests now. So the interest rate for the first 3 years is 13% compounded quarterly. So now we need to find 3 years. And at this point, my interest is 13% compounded quarterly. And then my interest decreases to 11.2% compounded monthly. So for the rest of the time, my interest is now 11.2% compounded monthly. Okay. I want again some comments in the comment section. Now that we've put in the interest, whose timeline looks exactly like my timeline, then you can put a big yes. And if it does not look like this timeline, you can just give me a no. Nice. Okay. No problem. All right. Those of you who have said no, do you understand why it does look like this? Does it make sense or does it not make sense at all? So if you've said no, if it still doesn't make sense, please just let me know in the comments that you still don't know what's going on. Or unmute yourself and ask any question. Okay, that's good, Leander. Okay, beautiful. Excellent. Okay, now that we've actually done the hard part, because once we've figured out this timeline, this is really the hardest part when it comes to these questions. Now we just get to put it into a really long sum, and we just do that step by step. So we look at each amount of money and we follow its lifespan. We're going to start with this 5,700 Rand. So I'm going to say A is equal to 5,700 Rand. What happens to that 5,700? Well, for the first 3 years, it's at this interest rate of 13% compounded quarterly. Okay, so I'm going to say it's got this for the first 3 years. Now, if it's 3 years and I'm making 4 payments per year, my end value there would be 12 because I've got 3 years and I'm making 4 each year. So now I've taken this 5,700, we're up to year 3. Now we have to take it up to year 8. So now its interest is 11.2%, but it's being compounded monthly. And this time frame over here is now 5 years. And 5 times 12 is 60. So that's the first part of my sum. Now we've dealt with the 5,700. It's off the table. We don't have to worry about it anymore. So now let's look at our next one. Now we've got the 1,900. The 1,900 is in the account for 1 year at this low interest rate. So we're going to say plus because I'm adding the money. If I'm taking away the money, I would say minus. 1,900 Rand. It's at this interest rate for 1 year. And if I'm making 4 payments in a year, it would be 4. And then for the next 5 years, it's at the same space as the green one. So we just say 1 plus 11.2% over 12 for 60 time periods. Okay. And now we've dealt with the 1,900 Rand. So all we have left is the 4,100. We're going to add 4,100. And it didn't ever have this interest rate because I put it in after that interest rate was valid. It's only ever had the new interest rate. So 1 plus 11.2% compounded monthly. And it's only been in there for 3 years. So 3 years of 12 payments per year has an end value of 36. Now that looks disgusting. I fully accept that. Sometimes maths does look disgusting. It's one of the sad things about maths, okay? But it's also glorious because it's doing so much on one line, which is amazing. So what I want you to do is we're going to kind of work through this together with our calculators because we actually can't put that whole line in our calculator. Our calculator has a little bit of a temper tantrum and it says, no, I don't want any more numbers in me. It's like when someone tries to talk to you and you're in a bad mood and you just want to be left alone. That's what your calculator does. So what we're going to do is we're going to just go up to the green. You're going to put everything that's green in there, and then you're going to push equals. So I want you all to put that into your calculator as you go, and then push equals. And I know you must be thinking, why do we need to put this in our calculators if you're going to give us the answer? But it's because financial maths is really about understanding how to read a question and then understanding how to use your calculator. And if you can do those two things, you will become invincible at financial maths. Okay, so I've worked out my green. I get 14,609, something around there. So you should be seeing something similar. We're not going to clear our calculator. We're going to keep that number, and we're just going to start working on the rest. So now we're going to say plus. You should see it says answer plus on your calculator. We're going to put in the next little section. So 1,900 Rand, and you're going to put in the next little bit. Okay, and we're going to get an answer again over here. And again, you're going to push plus, and then you're going to put in this last little purple piece. And you should get a total at the end of 24,108 Rand and 19 cents after all of that hard work for one tiny little number. Now, these timeline questions, they're worth a good 5, 6, sometimes even 7 marks, because every time you have to do something, you get a mark for doing it. So for example, in this question, you would have gotten a mark for both of those brackets, for both of those brackets, for this one, and your final answer. So this whole question would have been 7 marks, a huge number of marks for one question. So it's really important that you understand what's going on. Okay, we are going to do another really big question like this, which is example 6. And what I'd like you to do, I'm hoping that those of you who struggled drawing this timeline in this first round, that now you're going to feel a bit more comfortable to draw the timeline in example 6. So I want everyone to give this another go. First thing you're going to do is read through the question. I'll read through it as well. And I want you to draw the timeline. And then we're going to talk through each step. We'll talk through the timeline and we'll talk through the next little bit. Okay. So 120,000 Rand was invested in the bond market for 5 years. The interest rate was fixed at 11.25% per annum, compounded quarterly for the first 3 years, and then changes to 9.75% compounded monthly. One withdrawal of 40,000 Rand was made after 18 months. Now, if you're struggling with that, 18 months is 1.5 years. Calculate how much money is available after 5 years. So your first goal is I want you to just get that timeline drawn. So get your papers out, read through the question, figure out what's going to go where, just get that timeline the way it should look. Okay. Let's start having a look what this is going to start looking like. So we have this money that's being invested, and it's being invested for 5 years. So our full timeline, if we start from the beginning, if this is time 0, it's being invested for a total of 5 years. Okay, so if we've gotten that far, good. You've made a great start. We've ticked off that part. 120,000 Rand was invested. So that was my initial investment in my loan. The interest rate was fixed at 11.25% per annum compounded quarterly for the first 3 years. So now we need to get time 3, and I'm just going to change colors for you guys. This interest rate over here for those first 3 years is going to be 11.25% compounded quarterly. So that's for the first 3 years. Now we've dealt with that. Next bit. The interest then changes to 9.75% compounded monthly. So now my interest becomes a 9.75% compounded monthly. Awesome. Now we've dealt with that. One withdrawal of 40,000 Rand was made after 18 months. So after 1.5 years, we're taking out, so it's going to be a minus 40,000 Rand. Okay, and that's our whole timeline. Can I get an idea of what this timeline was like? So just give me on a scale of sort of 0 to 10. 0 means I didn't understand anything at all, and 10 means either you were very close to having what I have on my timeline, or you have exactly what I have on my timeline. Can you just give me an idea of how you felt with answering this question? Awesome. Oh, 11 out of 10. I like it. Great. Those are awesome answers. Awesome. Okay, great. Now we just need to start putting this all into its maths. So, do I have a brave soul who feels like they can tell me about the journey of this 120,000? What is happening to it? Where does it go? I want to know. Come along. You guys are going to make me sing, and that's just going to hurt all of your ears. No one wants to hear that. I promise. How about Nala? Can you hear me? No? What about, who else have I got here? Ulwazi? If you can't unmute yourself, you're also welcome to answer in the chat. Oh, not quite sure. Okay, that's okay. How about I help you with this one, and then you can talk me through one of the others. Okay, so let's have a look. The first thing that's happening to this 120 is that for 3 years, it's getting this interest of 11.25%, and that's being compounded quarterly. So I'm going to say my 11.25% compounded quarterly. And if it's 3 years where I'm making 4 payments every year, my end value is going to be 12. Okay. The next thing that's happening to it is it's sitting in there for another 2 years at a different interest rate. So now I'm going to say 1 plus 9.75% compounded monthly for 2 years. So my end value is now going to be 24, because every year I'm making 12 payments. And now we have dealt with 120,000. Now it's done. We don't have to worry about it anymore. Next, we have to deal with this 40,000. So we're going to minus it because we're taking it out of the account. So we're going to minus 40,000. And then the next thing that happens to it is we're going to say 1 plus 11.25% being compounded quarterly Now, be careful. This time period is 1.5 years. So I'm saying 1.5 times 4, because I'm making 4 payments a year, and that's going to give me 6. So my end value there is going to be 6. And then again, it's sitting into this count for another 2 years. So I'm going to say 1 plus 9.75% compounded monthly for 24 time periods. And now I'm going to be a little bit nasty. What I'd like you to do, I'm not being too nasty because I've helped you along the way. I'd like you to put this into your calculators, and I'd like you to write your answers in the chat. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes because I know this takes a long time to input into your calculators, but I want you to all give it a try. And when you have your answer, put it in the chat. And remember, it doesn't matter if you get it right. It doesn't matter if you get it wrong. I only care that you're trying. That is the only thing that matters to me. So give it your best go. Oh, I'm seeing some answers. Oh, sorry, you can't see my numbers. It's because my writing is so bad. Sorry, guys. That is 24 because it's 2 years where I'm making 12 payments a year. If your calculator is screaming at you, it's probably because it can't fit all of it in one line. And just remember, then you just need to break it up. So if you need to break it up, you break it up there. Ooh, we have answers. How exciting. I'm not going to tell you they're right or wrong yet because I'm just going to wait for a few more answers to come in. I can tell you, however, that so far, at least one of the people who have answered has gotten it correct. That's my little hint. Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit more time to try and answer. Okay. So, oh, we got any more answers coming in before I say anything? Okay, our glorious answer that was correct, let's write it over here so everyone can see, is 1, 4, 5. Now let's see who's, because lots of you got 1, 4, 5, and then the numbers start changing. So let's see who the winners are. We get 902,52. Well done. Those of you who got that right, excellent, 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 excellent. Well done. Okay, we are going to do a nice easy question now that I would love for you all to try. It should feel super easy after what we've just done. We're going to jump all the way back up to depreciation as like a nice way to sort of end off and feel good about ourselves. Actually, let's do this one first. Okay, so we have 100,000 Rand that's being invested in a pension fund. The total in the pension fund after a certain number of years is 287,500 Rand. If interest was 12.5% per annum, simple interest, how many years did the money get invested for? So the first thing I want you to answer in the comment section is, what am I looking for? So am I looking for P? Am I looking for N? Am I looking for A? Or am I looking for I? And you can just give me your answer as A, B, C, or D. Beautiful. I'm looking for N. Yeah, if you're answering N, that's great. That makes me super happy. Okay, so I'd like you all to give this a try, and I would love if someone felt confident enough to talk us through. So work through it, and if you're feeling good with your answer, then please unmute yourself and chat us through this question. That would be great. If you don't feel confident enough to talk me through the whole question, or you don't feel sort of confident to unmute yourself and chat, or if you're having sound issues, I'm also happy for you to give me the answer in the chat button. You're not going to use logs because it's going to be a simple interest. We're only going to use logs later on in these lessons, so don't panic. Only in lesson 4. But it's really good that you knew that logs are associated with N, so well done. All right. If anyone is feeling good, please feel free to answer. If you don't feel like answering the whole thing for everyone, please feel free to put your answer in the chat. Remember, it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. It's just great that we're trying. I can give you a hint and tell you that it would be a nice whole number that you're getting. So if you don't have a nice number, then something has gone a little bit wrong. Okay. Well, I'm seeing something in the chat. Let's have a look. No, you don't need to multiply it by 12. Bali, do you think you have an answer?
Ma'am, I'm not sure of it.
Okay. How about this? Is your answer somewhere between 10 and 20?
No.
Okay. Well, then how about I go through this one?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So let's have a look. So what we have is, I'm just going to write our little grocery list over here. Our P is 100,000. That's what we're putting in. Our A is becoming 287,500. We don't know the number of years. So N is a question mark. And I is 12.5%. And they've told us it's simple interest. So we know we're going to use A equals P1 plus IN. Okay, so when we read through the question, if we write that grocery list, it sort of helps us make sure we know exactly what's going on. Now let's just put it all in to our formula. So 287,500 is equal to 100,000. And then in our brackets, 1 plus 12.5% times N. Now I'm just going to start moving things around here as I need to. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by that 100,000. Well, I'm seeing I have something in the comments. Let's just have a look. Solar, yes, 15 was 100% right. You've snuck me to the punch, but I love it. Woo! Okay, so then we're going to have 1 plus 12.5% times N. I now want to move this 1 over. I'm just going to be sneaky because of our time, and I'm going to say minus 1. Okay, and then I need to divide all of this by 12.5%, and then I'm going to be able to isolate N. So now N is going to be all by itself. And we're going to chuck all of that into our calculator, and we should get the glorious answer of N equals 15 years. How lovely. I love it when horrible sums become lovely little answers. And that is actually where we are going to end today. So you don't have to listen to me talk to you about money anymore. And I'm going to pass over to Coco, who's going to chat you through a little bit more. I hope you all have a lovely evening. I've had a great first lesson with you.
Thank you, Ms. G. That was awesome. I also learned a couple of things, even though I'm pretty good at maths myself. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I am Coco. I am one of the teachers/tutors here at Watobi. If you've ever asked one of your tutors for a video, I was probably one of the tutors who sent you a video. It's very lovely to meet you all. What we're going to be going through now is just the homework that you guys have, and I know that you guys already have the app, so I'm just going to show you guys where to find this particular homework that you need to find on the app. Okay, let me just screen share for you guys quickly, and I need to get to the right page. Let me see here. Oh. Okay, I just need to make sure I can get to the right screen. Let me just flip to the screen first. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is actually what we're going to be going through. Today's lesson on the 27th of July was the simple and compound interest and timelines, one that you've just gone through. And on Thursday, actually, at this exact time, you guys will be going through future value annuities with Ms. G again. So guys, look forward to that. And the homework that we like you guys to go do, if you click on topic inside your app, you're going to go to the topic that says finance. And inside the finance topic, you're going to find one that is called Revise Grade 11 Timelines. You'll find it under Financial Maths Revision. And you're going to watch the video and do the exercise under Revise Grade 11 Timelines, which is what you guys had been going through today. All right. that's all that we're going to be doing for today. Thank you guys so much for coming. If we could all just please unmute ourselves and give Ms. G a huge thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all the work that she's doing. Okay, how about it?
Thank you, Ms. G.
You're
Thank
most
you,
welcome,
Ms.
guys.
G.
Thank you, Ms. G.
Have a
Thank you,
lovely
Ms. G.
evening.
Thank you, Ms. G.
Thank you, Ms. G.
Okay. Awesome, guys.
Thanks,
That was
guys.
amazing.
Thank you, Ms. G. Thank you,
Bye.
Coco. But can I just justify myself? I did get the answer right. It's just that I messed up the final calculation. I did
You
get
just
my
didn't
15.
trust yourself.
Yes.
Bali,
Yes, yes.
I'm going to be picking on you so much in our next lesson, just so you know, so that you start trusting your guts.
No
Okay,
problem.
thanks so much, guys. We're going to see you all on Thursday, same time, same place. All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.